No way.
I need you frightened. I need you hopeless.
Hi, welcome back to the chaos. This is the Reflections of Horror podcast, a horror movie podcast for the girls, gays, and non-binary baes. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Kale, and welcome back to our Season 2 franchise run. This is part 2 of our 28 insert time period here later series.
Our 28 franchise.
Our 28 franchise. Yeah, and today we'll be talking about 28 weeks later.
I can kick us off with the log line.
Yeah, give us that log
favorite.
line.
In case, for some reason, you haven't listened to our last episode, you don't know what 28 weeks later is about. 6 months after the rage virus was inflicted on the population of Great Britain, the U.S. Army helps to secure a small area of London for the survivors to repopulate and start again. But nothing ever goes according to plan.
Sure doesn't. That is the common trope of most apocalypse narratives.
Yeah.
Nothing ever goes according to plan. Yeah. So this kind of has a little bit of an interesting kind of production history. It came out in 2007. The first movie came out in 2002. This does not have the same writer-director. There were like scheduling conflicts and stuff, and then I guess like the production company just like, well, we need a sequel, so we're gonna have a sequel.
It is interesting because in the director's commentary, it sounds like Danny at least did help in some parts.
Yeah.
Because they talk about how Danny helped us shoot this scene. Danny helped us this. Danny helped us that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how the fuck did this break down?
Yeah.
But, okay. So
How did
I
that
think
work?
like a little bit of a hand in it, but I'm also curious. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. Because like I think when you think 28 days later, 28 weeks later, like your mind goes to Danny Boyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Cillian Murphy. In my mind.
Yeah.
Because like one comment was even like, yeah, Danny really gave us feedback that the eyes needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah. So there's like, and you can tell kind of in like the editing and like the cinematography and everything that like they were trying to copy kind of Danny Boyle's style from the first movie, but like
yes.
An attempt was made.
Yeah.
So yeah, also this one like doesn't have the original cast. We're kind of following a new cast, new idea, kind of expanding outward of like, okay, well, what happened after when we're trying to rebuild and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of interesting. We'll give them credit for the work that they put in, but
well, we're giving you credit for trying.
yeah, we're giving you credit for trying. I'll say that I think when you're looking into stuff about 28 years later, that they just kind of scrapped the canon of this one of weeks later, because they're like, no, we're actually going to go in this direction and just pretend that 28 weeks later did not happen and does not exist.
It's like I feel like the fans of 28 Days Later are like, give us Cillian Murphy, give us Danny Boyle, or don't give us anything.
Yeah.
Because you even saw with 28 Years Later, people were like, where's Cillian Murphy?
I
How is
know.
he not in this one?
It's
awful.
I didn't think it was awful, but I was like, man, where's my dude?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we start with, basically, we don't really have any kind of like flash cut, any kind of stylistic thing. We just literally start in like a cottage.
Comes in with like a match being lit.
Yeah.
And you see like the eyes of a woman, and then it kind of just zooms out from there, and you're like, okay, so we're in a cottage.
Yeah.
We have a man and a woman.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, it's kind of like a snowball effect in this house. I'll just kind of jumble this together because I don't think it really matters till we get to the meat and potatoes here in a little bit. But it's like, you see the couple and you're like, okay, they're clearly together. And then like an old woman walks in and you're like, okay, so there's an old woman in the house too.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, so there's an old man in the house too. And then it's like,
oh, there's also a girl.
Yeah.
The girl is like
been through something clearly because she
waiting-
kind of wanders down the stairs.
And she puts out, so they're all sitting around for dinner.
There's one other guy too.
Yeah.
That was randomly reading.
Yeah, just some random guy, Jacob.
Yeah.
And so like the couple They're a married couple, Dawn and Alice. And
kudos to you for remembering names.
yeah, I was doing a lot of reading because I was confused. I was like, wait, were they actually married? Because I was like, anyway, we'll get to that. But Dawn and Alice, and then I think the girl, maybe the granddaughter of the old people, was like sad, put out an extra plate of food for like a boyfriend that seemed to have left and is not coming back. Yeah.
The only other thing we set, which obviously this is very important, we realize the kids of this couple had been sent on a school trip
to Spain. Yes.
Yeah, when Britain broke out, because one of them makes the comment of like, oh, we're so lucky that we paid for that trip.
Yes,
so.
Which I think is funny because I was reading, this just goes to like media literacy and stuff. I was reading like a Reddit review of this, because sometimes I'd be scrolling on Reddit.
Yeah.
And someone was like, I just don't they just randomly introduced these kids. They didn't give any kind of context. And I was like, well, they literally did say it in the first like 10 seconds of the movie. So,
but you were too busy scrolling your phone and you missed that.
Literally, actually though. So, yeah, we are in the age of even if you do spell it out to me like I am a child, I will still misinterpret it and be confused. We're doing great, guys. We're doing great. Our brains,
they'll make it.
They're fine. Yep. Anyway, they're sitting down for dinner, and then there's a commotion out of the cottage, which is all boarded up.
Yeah.
Everything's dark. Everything's boarded up. So you can tell.
Yeah, it's dark to the point. I assumed it was nighttime.
Yeah.
It gives that vibe.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, there's just a banging at the door, and you can clearly tell it's a little kid yelling, "Let me in, let me in."
Yeah. And then they do.
Well, there's a little bit of an argument because the husband, I'm just gonna call him the problematic husband. The entire
Dawn.
Yeah, Dawn.
Dawn.
Is basically like, we can't open the door, and she's like, it's a child. We have to let him in, which is setting the tone for how things are gonna go.
Yeah.
But so they unboard the door, open it, and it's like this blinding light. So it's actually daytime. That's how boarded up this house is.
Yes.
They let the kid in, board it up. Yeah, so then they sit back down.
Mm-hmm. They give the kid some food. He's all grubby, and he's like, my mom and dad tried to kill me. I had to run away. He's like, you learn that he like ran like a couple miles from like the nearest village.
Yeah.
And there's not much time that passes before there is infected banging on the door. Bashing through, which, like, so much for your barricades, because they get in, like, instantly.
Which I've got a comment for later in the movie that I'm going to bring back around, because there's a little bit of a plot hole with when they pick and choose for when these infected can come busting through shit and when they cannot.
Yes.
Which I have a problem with.
I also do. You got to be consistent.
Yes. As we say, commit to your bit.
Commit to your bit. So yeah, infected bust in.
Oh yeah, because the woman waiting for her boyfriend moves like something and peeks out.
Oh, okay, yeah, yep. And then because she gets got first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what fucking opens the doors. I think she might even like be looking for her boyfriend. Like she might say something. I forget, or that's just my brain taking the plot there. But yeah, and then she gets got, and then all hell breaks loose. Obviously, because the doors are open, the floodgates are open, so to speak. So now it's, where do we run off to?
Yeah, exactly. So there's splitting up a little bit. I think that Alice grabs the little boy, heads upstairs. The husband has to bash a zombie. Has to bash the girl, actually.
Yes.
Like, bashes her head in. And the old people, and then, like, randomly Jacob, like, go into a barn or something. Yeah. And then Dawn runs upstairs and is, like, screaming for his wife. And,
we do see the old couple get eaten in the barn.
Yes.
So they get wiped, and then we still have Jacob.
It's kind of happening like concurrently.
Oh, it's chaos.
Yeah,
it's
chaos.
And forth. It's chaotically shot.
So I would like to just point out that the old man husband barricades the door, sacrifices himself by holding the door shut while his wife climbs up a ladder with Jacob. Wife does not make it up all the way. Zombies bust in, get the husband, not the husband, the old man husband. And there's just chaos. She gets got, Jacob gets away.
Yeah.
Then we cut to the upstairs in the house, and Dawn like comes into the room and is like, we gotta go. And then she's going to try to get the boy out of the closet, and then they're kind of split up and a zombie walks in between them.
The tension build in this fucking scene, it like is incredible in all respect to the people who made the film, because like he's running after the wife. The wife is trying to find the kid because the kid actually runs off. So she panics because she's lost him.
Yeah.
They come in. The husband tries to grab her into the bathroom, and she looks across and sees that the kid's in the closet. So now we've gone one way. She steps out, gets the kid, like you said. Infected comes in. There's a single infected.
One. Just one.
And the way this is shot, with her being like, Dawn! Like, and him being a fucking coward, and then it's... And I'm like getting goosebumps thinking about it, because the actress sold it in her eyes.
Oh,
because
for
you
sure.
see it in the close-up of her face. The switch from Dawn, help me, to you fucking piece of shit.
Yep.
You see it in her eyes.
You do see it, and you can kind of see it, like, to his credit too. He plays really good at being like a sniveling, pathetic coward. And like, so he is watching this infected come. She's realizing that he's not going to do jack shit. He closes the door. The zombie in the room with them takes off, gets out of the house and starts booking it down a field, leaving her screaming. She's like, help us. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then, just contrasting that to the old man who literally like sacrificed his whole body to like save his wife. Right? And then and then you get a cut to Alice is looking out the window at Dawn as he's booking it down the field.
Insane.
It is crazy.
And at this point, as I think it starts when we're in the room and he shuts the door, our 28 Days Later music starts.
Yes.
With that gradual ramp up. So by the time he's tumbled out, seen infected, he's sprinting, infected or chasing her, looking back. At that point when he looks back to the window, we're like at that full...
Yeah.
Is it crescendo? I don't know the
proper
music. Like
sure.
the peak of it where it's like really loud and ramping up and you're like, oh my God, this guy really just did that.
He just abandoned his wife.
Because I had the thought, I was like, what would I do if that was Selena? And I was like... I mean, I'm just like, if I ever came across you again, I would put a bullet in your head.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately.
For sure. I can't
fathom.
I can't fathom, like, being that much of a coward to just, like, do that, right? Like, it's like, I would sacrifice myself, like, immediately. Like, I don't even care.
Even to take it back to, like, 28 Days Later and the way that Selena talked about, like, trying to live and whatnot. What would be the point of me living after witnessing my wife get eaten?
Yeah, right?
Because I would be a shell of a human anyway.
Yeah, and then, like, living with, like, the self-loathing of, like, knowing that you abandoned her.
Well,
like, how do you live with yourself after that if you're even gonna try?
I think you have to have, like, empathy and actual feelings to do that. He doesn't
that's
strike
true.
me as one to have
no,
that.
he doesn't.
But he gets what he deserves.
Yeah, he does. Later in the film. We'll get to that, but... Yeah, because I remember, I think I had seen this one. I've seen 28 Days Later probably a dozen times. Yeah. I've only seen this one, like, once.
But again, it's to our comment of, like, how people feel about the two movies.
Yeah, exactly. And I just remember when I was, like, starting this movie again, I was like, I just remember there was this one character with a pointy nose who I really fucking hated. And then I'm like, oh, it's him.
You know what's really funny? I just apparently blacked out and completely, like... just don't remember him, because the only thing I remember is homeboy in the military in this one, our sniper guy.
Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner.
See, that's so funny because I did not even remember at all that Jeremy Renner and Idris Elba are in this movie, and I had no idea.
I forgot that Idris Elba, I did forget that he's the high ranking. When he came in, I was like, oh my god, you're in this too?
Yeah, I was just like, wow, that's where all their money for their budget went, was to get those two.
Yes.
I mean, even in 2007, I feel like they were probably, like, big enough that they're expensive.
The helicopter pilot too. He's a big name actor.
Yeah,
He's
he is.
the lead character in From.
Oh yeah.
And the doctor. They're all big name actors and actresses in this one.
They did basically the opposite of what 28 Days Later did, which they were trying to kind of go after like lower name. They didn't want the big names to be the draw for the movie. They wanted the movie itself to like stand for itself, which I think is really cool. And we love giving no names their chance. Anyway, he's running, there's like a boat on a dock, and the other guy, Jacob, who survived the barn, is like getting it started. They're trying to unmoor the boat, and there's infected coming from all sides. And Dawn runs, jumps basically in the boat. Jacob gets knocked into the water.
Jacob misses his jump. I was like,
He
you were right
did.
there.
You were right there.
Fucking flying squirrelet. Like, I'm full on, which obviously would honestly probably tip the boat too, but if I'm going in the water, so are you. Sorry.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm sorry, you abandoned your wife. I'm not gonna let you.
I untied this.
Yeah, well,
if I'm not getting away, you're not fucking getting away.
Exactly. So,
but it's a very chaotic scene of like, are they going to get out in time? He misses the jump. He goes in the water. Infected are now tumbling into the water. And Infected's trying to crawl up. Jacob's then infected and trying to crawl in. And he's fucking spinning the boat, trying to kick Infected off. And then he rides off. Which apparently this is one of the scenes that Danny helped them.
Well, I heard that this was like essentially like a short, like this whole thing was essentially like a short film that Danny like put together, and you can kind of tell because when we get like the jump cut to like we get like a couple different captions where it's like 28 days later.
I can read through this.
Okay, yeah.
Because and we were apparently early because him looking back at the wife is once he's in the boat.
Ah, got it.
So anyway, now from here we get it's like interlaced black screen with our little text, and then like a random insert, like anything from zoomed out view of London, flying over the city, whatever. Yeah. But our cuts are 15 days later, mainland Britain is quarantined. 28 days later, mainland Britain has been destroyed by the rage virus. 5 weeks later, the infected have died of starvation. 11 weeks later, an American-led NATO force enters London. How do you feel that it only takes 11 weeks for the U.S. Army to fucking stick their nose where it doesn't belong?
I'm surprised it took 11 weeks, to be honest. Also, I'm like, of course it was the U.S.
Of course it had to be us.
Like, of course.
18 weeks later, mainland Britain is declared free of infection. 24 weeks later, Reconstruction begins. And then 28 weeks later, we get back into the movie.
Yeah, so Reconstruction, everything, the infected are dead, hooray! And now it's Reconstruction time.
So really, this opening scene is start of the infection.
Yes, which is interesting because that like kind of
it allows you to not have to watch the first one.
Yeah, and they do it too with 28 years later, even though like essentially like 28 weeks later was just kind of struck from the canon. Like, we're not addressing that, we're just going to pretend like all the rules there don't exist, right? All the rules that were established in this movie do not apply to 28 years later, essentially.
To be fair though, I kind of like it, and that's kind of why I love this franchise, is it is giving you different parts of the apocalypse. And I think that would reign true of rules that helped you survive in the beginning are not going to be rules that help you survive 6 months to 3 decades later. Yeah,
no, that is a good point. I can also
my only counter to that.
I can appreciate that. But yeah, so we're back. We start with the train, right? Yeah, there's a couple kids. No, we don't start with the train. We start with the military.
We start with our snipers, sniper babes. Yeah. So we basically we set the scene, so to speak, where You have, like, military individuals in a chopper. You see a handful of rooftops with military snipers on them. And it's really just, yeah, it's like a back and forth on the radio, and then...
They're just being snarky soldier guys,
Basically.
you know, just kind of trying to set, I guess, like, trying to do some, like, character building.
Like the booking apartment, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah,
He's taking a shit.
yeah,
like, just stupid
like,
stuff.
yeah, exactly.
I would
It's
say
like,
yes,
oh.
trying to build up what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then we're at the airport now, where we meet a female medical officer, I think she is. She's like the lead doctor behind it all.
Yeah, doctor
And
lady.
she's
Scarlet.
Thank
That's her
you.
name. You're welcome.
She's looking at a plane deboarding, and she immediately gets on the walkie and goes, "I didn't realize we were admitting children."
Ah, yes.
So, also random sidebar fun fact. Apparently when they shot this, they obviously did not have the budget to shut the airport down. Mm-hmm. So they had a lot more planes in that shot that had to be removed by
like
special
CG
effects after, after the
CGI.
fact. So
That's funny.
So yeah, so she kind of makes the comment about, like, I didn't know we were admitting children, and then it's just them walking through the airport, and then they get to like a medical exam room, basically, where you're now being admitted. We need to
Examine you, make sure that you're not infected.
which is, like, kind of hilarious because they were already put on a plane to get here. So
gotta mind your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
Check, double check.
Yeah.
Except for when everything goes wrong, in which case don't check anything.
Don't check
it's
anything,
fine.
just shoot everybody.
Yep.
And then, so this is when we meet Andy, who is a young boy who is clearly there with his sister, and he's 12, and he has one blue eye and one brown eye. Mm-hmm. And they comment on, she makes a comment about how that is hereditary.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I think at that point we hear that mom has that.
Yeah,
He
he's
goes,
like,
"It's
yeah,
from
I
my
got
mom."
it. Yeah, I got it from my mom. So his mom, who we learn is Alice, who is supposedly dead because Dawn abandoned her, also had one brown eye, one blue eye, a heterochromia.
I have it in the notes somewhere towards the bottom, but yes,
Okay,
that's
yeah. Yep.
what it's called.
Yeah, and then they're put on a train to head to wherever this District 1 is.
So I'm just gonna read my notes because they give a lot of information about what we're driving into.
Yeah.
So basically, we see shots of just, like, basically soldiers, like, clearing out houses with biomedical waste bags and burning bodies.
Yeah.
And so there's a train headed to District 1 on the Isle of Dogs, and they're being told the surrounding area of London is not safe, and under no circumstances should they cross the river and leave the security zone.
Well,
Foreshadowing.
foreshadowing.
When you hear that,
because-
you know immediately we're leaving the zone and going out into London.
Yeah, especially when you're introducing a couple of kids,
Exactly.
right? And I will say that there are fewer things that I hate in most horror movies than a child character, because 9 times out of 10,
Can't be trusted.
you have a kid. The kid is fucking things up.
Yes.
The kid is an idiot. The
Yeah.
kid characters, it sucks because, like, kids aren't really that stupid,
Yeah.
but they always make the kids in almost every single movie
It's their fault.
just an idiot,
Yeah.
and it's so frustrating, and it does not make me like children characters that much.
I think most children are pretty stupid, though, so.
That's true.
It's
But
pretty-
I did like Spike. That's
true.
I
Yeah.
like Spike a lot. I
That's
don't think
true.
Spike was an idiot. So,
That's a very good
I
argument.
think
Way to shoot that one down. That's yes.
Yeah,
Yes, he was
so-
not stupid. He was good.
and I think it's just like about like how you're gonna write a character. And the same thing goes with women, right?
Yes.
Because like there's some characters that I really like that other people don't really like, and I'm like, okay, for example, The Legend of Korra, right? First, which is a spin-off of the Avatar series, which is like a beloved children's series, really good. And then they followed up a couple years later with Legend of Korra, and it follows like a female main character, and she's a hothead, and the first 2 seasons, admittedly, she's fucking terrible, but she was written that way, right? She was
She needed
written
an arc.
Yeah, well, yeah, and she needed an arc, and then also it's like, I feel like people who are like, oh, I hate that character, and I'm like, well, that's not fair, because she was written poorly, don't hate her, it's not her fault. So, yeah, I think it's all about the writing.
Yes.
And if you're going to write a character bad, then it's okay to hate it. But also, not if I like them. So stop it. Anyway, moving on.
So back to the train.
Yeah.
She makes a comment about too many bodies are still need to be cleared out of like the external London area that we don't want to go into, and
Yes.
rats and wild dogs are prevalent. Yes. And then there are currently 15,000 residents who have returned. And then she basically just, as the train is then like pulling in, we see all these like military personnel basically like unloading shit. It's like, it looks like a military area. Like it doesn't look like you're riding into a neighborhood.
No,
yet.
it definitely looks like it's been commandeered.
And then she brags about the fact that they have hot and cold running water, 24-hour electricity, a supermarket, and even a pub.
Also, this is an American who's saying all this, which I think is, and even a pub. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Because you guys love your pubs.
Yeah, so then at that point, the train pulls up. If you haven't connected the dots yet, now it's confirmed these are Don's kids. Because you see him, kids are reunited at the train station. They're so happy to see Dad, who's a fucking walking piece of shit.
Yep.
And I guess I never really connected the dots until now. So as he's walking with the kids, he's basically bragging about how he has an all-access pass and he takes care of this place.
He's like, I basically run the place.
Which is probably how his kids were the first kids to come back.
Yeah, probably.
I didn't connect that.
Well, yeah, and then also, I don't know, I like that scene also really was like highlighted how much of a piece of fucking shit he is, because like, he's like bragging, right? He's like, I basically run the place, right? And then the daughter, she's like, well, really, you're like just the caretaker. And then they're in one of those rotating, what do you call those rotating doors or whatever. And then he hits a button to stop the rotation to kind of lock them in there. And I'm like, that's such a stupid power flex. Like, you want so badly to feel important because you know you're fucking garbage.
We were just talking about how to write characters. I am saying they did a very good job.
They did. They did a really good job
of writing him into being a complete and worthless piece of
shit. Like, just like despicable.
Yeah.
And they did a great job with that. But I don't know. I guess there's something to be said about writing unlikable characters, but also it's hard to follow up because I liked like Jim and Selena so much that it's like, this is going to be your lead for this movie. Like, how is this is supposed to be like us rebuilding and stuff? How are we supposed to have any hope if all of your characters fucking suck?
So it's also interesting though, with what we were talking about in the first one, where they focus so much on father figures and Jim trying to find surrogate father figures. You then go into the second, where the primary father figure is fucking horrendous.
Yeah. Which is like an interesting contrast. And I think it just like highlights more, because I also had this thought where it's like, okay, Don abandoned his wife, who presumably they've been married and together for probably a couple decades. I think that girl looks like at least like 14.
Yes, yeah.
And like, and he just leaves her, right? And then
for zombies. It wasn't even a horde.
It wasn't even
the logistics of I cannot get to you.
Yeah, it was just I'm too afraid to.
You literally could have turned around in the bathroom, grabbed the back off the toilet, smashed the zombie once, and then they could have ran across the room.
And it's the fact that he didn't even fucking try.
Yes, correct.
And meanwhile, at the end of 28 days later, you have Jim, who has known Selena and Hannah for how long? Like 3 days, a couple weeks, maybe at most.
Yeah.
And he's risking life and limb to save them from a bunch of rapist soldiers.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, I think it's just the contrast is almost like too stark for me to find any like enjoyment in it, because it's like I'm not at all one of those people necessarily where like the characters have to be likable and relatable in order for me to be able to appreciate the media. I just hated him so much. So much.
I think that's warranted though. So then we kind of get like a little bit of a cut shot where like they're clearly taken into a place where they can get food. We see kind of a zoomed out shot where the medical officer is now meeting Dawn, and you can tell it's kind of like a little bit of like, hi, I'm Dawn, these are my kids, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then we're to a meeting with military personnel.
Yes.
Plus the medical officer, who's basically like, how the fuck did we start letting minors in? And I didn't know, because there's no protocol for how to handle minors. Like, this is... We don't even have confirmation that the virus is completely eradicated.
Which is crazy if they're letting people back.
So that was going to be a question I posed to you, was... So 28 weeks later is roughly 6 months?
Something like that, yeah.
Would you want to go home?
If everything had been, like, wiped out.
So we're in the U.S.
Yeah.
You were on a trip back to Canada to visit your family.
Right.
6 months goes by. They go, we're good. Like, everything's eradicated. Would you come back to the U.S.?
Probably not, no.
Oh,
Unless there was something that I was, like, coming back to. And also the fact that Don let his kids come back that early is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You know? And be like, well, we don't know for sure.
If well, I wouldn't be Don, because Don's awful. But in that role as the father, why would you not go to Spain?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you go to Spain, get your kids, and figure something out in Spain?
Yeah. Just go live in Spain now.
And if the U.S. Army is leading it, I'm definitely not coming back.
That's what I'm saying.
No fucking way.
No
I'm being
fucking
the guinea
way.
pig.
No, exactly. The guinea pig for a U.S. Army operation. No way. And plus, they can't. No.
So,
Anyway, lots of bad decisions.
Yeah, so basically she's just going off, and one of the military guys is saying they know it's not cross species and it didn't go airborne, and the last infected human died 6 months ago.
6 months? But that
like,
doesn't make sense.
It's also, how do you know that is the last infected human?
Well, they didn't. They didn't know.
Because and then this was another thought I had. So logistically, to confirm that this was the last infected human, you would have to sweep an entire country, basically, and just look at in every nook, cranny, and crevice, and river, and house.
For you're gonna go into the rural spaces too,
Yeah.
and it's just like it doesn't make sense. You know, I know the Army thinks that they're really hot shit, but it's like there's no way there's that thorough.
There's no way.
Anyway.
So, that's my rant about the fact that we're back in country 6 months in. And my note says, she has the concerns of it coming back, and in true U.S. Army fashion, he just says, well, then we'll kill it.
Yeah, I had a note about that too. I'm like, yeah, of course you would.
Thanks.
And that was Idris that said that, right? Yeah.
And then we're back with Dawn and the kids. And we kind of get a reference to they say the refugee camp in Spain that they had to be in.
Yeah, which, like, wasn't great.
Yeah.
They were pissing in mechanical toilets and sleeping in tents, and it just wasn't great. So, yeah, there was probably nothing to go to in Spain. Maybe that's why. At least they have, like, a roof over their head in the UK.
I don't fucking know, man.
I don't fucking know either.
He makes a comment about how this is temporary housing. Kind of just looks like an apartment setup. And then how they'll be moving into a new house soon. And this is when the kids ask, what happened to Mom?
Yeah.
Kind of saying, like, why can't we go back to our home, I think is what they're trying to get at. And then this is when he has the caucasity to sit them down and tell a super watered down version. He, like, kind of starts on the story and then takes it into the, like, I tried and infected broken in, and I saw her get eaten. I just couldn't do anything, and I've been having a really tough time.
Yeah. Poor me.
Yeah.
Me.
I will say, I feel like, again, also in this scene, the eyes of the daughter, when he's talking, in my opinion, was saying that, like, I don't fucking believe you.
Yeah,
I don't think this is how this happened. But she doesn't say anything in that moment.
Nope.
So, and then as he's telling the story, we're kind of getting cuts of the wife yelling.
Yeah, yelling and looking at him, and, like, the truth of the matter there.
setting the scene of that he is grappling with the guilt he has in that moment of her yelling at him.
Yeah.
And him going, I'm just shutting the door.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Which, like, if you are a human, you should feel guilty about that. But also, your guilt isn't enough because you didn't try. So, you should feel guilty. You should feel bad, and you should have nightmares about it.
I can't fathom a situation where I would do that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, I think there's a lot to be said about, like, the complexity of, like, survivor's guilt, right? Because I just read The Lilac People, which is a completely different genre. It's, like, lit fic about, like, trans people in World War II. And, like, people dealing with the idea of survival, how survival is, like, inherently selfish, and survival's guilt, and blah, 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 blah. But that's, like, completely different context, where it's like these people are just surviving, like, these awful things that are happening, and they're doing what they can to survive. And, like, he does, but it's, like, because it's a different context, different genre, you would expect him to, like, go and try.
Yeah.
Like, try something.
Yeah.
And, like, they all tried something, but, like, he didn't even try. He didn't even try.
Yeah. And then we get a cut scene, and then we're back with our, I'll call them army bros, which I am just now realizing that, like, the tone of the army in both of these,
It's very bro-y.
yeah, like, just fucking around, because we get our man in the helicopter. We get a shot of the inside of his helicopter, so a little bit of foreshadowing. We see some items inside the helicopter where it's like a drawing from his daughter, his family, where that's gonna come back into play later on that will allow us to identify the helicopter. Anyway, so he's got, like, his big headphones on, like, but he's playing music through them, but it looks like it's the setup for the helicopter.
Yeah.
And we get our first jump scare because it ends up being Doyle,
Jeremy Renner, popping up,
acting like an infected because he grabs him around the neck and goes, ah, like, makes the noise they make.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's just two bros making out.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Because he does it again, like, 3 more times.
Yes,
and it's like,
yeah.
the bit is now over. Now you're just looking for an excuse to, like, touch your friend, I think. In my personal opinion.
Tracks with me. But, yeah, and then we just get back to more snipers on the fucking rooftop, just scanning open windows and
look at it, like, being perverts.
Yeah.
Like, why are we
But it's
doing this?
also, I felt like it kind of sets the tone for civilization is back. So, like, it's very like being in Chicago or New York, where if you're even with those skyscrapers, you can look in and kind of see life.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And I think it also sets up how we're going to be viewing this movie, partially, because part of this movie is shot through the view of a sniper rifle.
That's true.
Which
it is.
I kind of liked. Like, it's kind of a vibe. Like,
Yeah.
it's wild to view it that way.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting, and I think it definitely plays into, like, the whole, like, militaristic kind of tone it's taken. So, like, yeah, to be shot through, like, a sniper rifle, I think is pretty, like, it's a cool creative choice.
Yeah. And then we get a little bit of, like, a panning shot of the city, and kind of takes us to then, like, by the river, and then we see a riverboat of, like, army guys going by, and in this process, the daughter is kind of talking over the top, basically saying, we're just gonna sneak out, we're gonna be back before Dad knows, and you're like, okay, these shitheads are going, and we skipped it somewhere, but they're doing this because the brother at some point said, I'm worried I'm gonna forget about Mom. Like, I don't even have a photo of her.
Yeah, so they're going back to get a picture of Mom.
So Big Sister thinks it's a great idea. We're just gonna run down the street into this area we're not supposed to be in and go get a photo off of the refrigerator.
Yeah,
so
makes sense. Totally fine. Definitely child behavior, but whatever.
Which, I love the scene of them, like, sneaking out, because I'm like, It reminds me of, like, the Last of Us video game when you, like, sneak past army guards and you're like, they have one job. Like,
How did they miss
how are
that?
you not seeing the kids sneaking across this fucking bridge? Because you have men on a boat, you have men in the guard tower above, but, our homeboy Doyle in the sniper, catches them.
Does catch
sees
them.
them and radios to base command and
like
says,
the pups.
I've got 2 puppies escaping. And
Yeah.
the guy in the chopper's like, dogs? He's like, no, puppies, like kids.
Yeah. Yeah. The banter is a little funny.
Yeah. So
So they go, and then this is their kind of, they're like, haha, we're free, and running around and stuff, and then they kind of, like, are given, like, a hard reality check, where, like, they find some scooters outside, like, a restaurant, pizza joint, or something, and they're like, that's what we need to get to our house. So she goes in to find the keys for the scooter, and, like, ends up seeing, like, a dead body, and is like, oh my god, wait, this is actually kind of scary. So little bit of a reality check for our children, but they still do take the scooter and then ride all the way back
I love
to
that
home.
she grabbed a helmet for her little brother.
I do like that.
I
That
was
is
like,
sweet.
even the apocalypse, big sis is
Yeah.
still gonna get it done. So
Yep.
I thought that was cute. And then we get these like really wide panning shots of them scooty pooting down empty streets, and it kind of matches with the first movie.
It tries.
Okay, yes.
You know, I think it tries. I think I can see that it's going for that, but there's something about maybe the way it was shot, or like the composition, or just like the texture of the film, right?
Well, yeah,
that it's
one,
just
it's
like
much cleaner.
it's much cleaner, but it's still like trying to go for that same vibe, but it does feel kind of stiffer and a little less visceral to me, in a way that I was just like,
I wonder if part of it was we got them kind of going across like one of the most famous bridges in London. So
Yeah.
like you're kind of in more of like a tourist attraction vibe,
Right,
where in the other
yeah.
one it was just a random freeway.
yeah, no, I think that is definitely a good point too, and I think probably that it was crisper and cleaner, and just felt like
He tried
sequel, you know?
He tried to say in the director's commentary, I swear to God, he said they shot it in 60 millimeter, but then tried to allude that they shot it in 60 millimeter to make it grainier.
But it didn't look it at all.
And I'm like, again, this is where I need Ryan Coogler holding my hand. 65 is standard, I think. I
Yeah.
thought 65 was large. So then I'm like, I thought 60 was standard.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I just know that it looked too polished.
I know, but
There was like an attempt at punk. It's like Hot Topic punk.
Poser. So then the kids arrive at the house, and then simultaneously we get a cut shot of the dad walking into the room, realizing the kids are gone.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
we go back to the house with the kids.
Yes. Kids in the house, finding the picture, going up, kind of packing up some other stuff that they want to bring back.
Yeah.
And then
I will say, I thought it was interesting. So they took the kid outside to get him to bounce on the trampoline, which apparently this was kind of like an improvised scene that they shot.
Oh, really?
Which is weird, and they didn't even touch on this in the director's commentary, but I liked it because the way he was bouncing, and you have a window above him,
Yeah.
I'm like, that is, one, that's going to eventually be where we find Mom, probably,
Yeah.
because it's the upper window.
Right.
And two, it kind of matches the view of when we saw the wife in the window at the cottage when he was driving away.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But-
But she never appeared in the window.
No, but
No.
from the sound of the director's commentary, I don't think that's why they did it, but that's where my brain went with it.
Oh, well, sometimes we do fun things by accident.
We do, yes.
It's like, wow, I didn't even mean it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually he gets drawn up into the attic. He thinks that his sister's up there.
Yes, he's looking for Tammy.
Yeah, and Tammy is not up there, but he's like kind of poking around up there, and he's like, this isn't funny. And then, Mom pops up.
Well, and it's like, the room that we walk into, someone has clearly hid out in.
Yeah.
Because there's like tons of bowls with like maggot-filled food, and
Yeah.
there's like clearly writing on the wall of someone, I took it as like tallying days.
Yeah,
maybe?
but they were crosses, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
So, but then we kind of like hear something, and like you said, he's like, stop messing
Yeah.
around. And then it's Mom. And
Yeah.
we know that because I think we get a close in of her two eyes. So
yeah.
one blue, one brown. And
The brown one has
it's
this like blood
kind
shot.
of ruptured. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I think if I was medical personnel, I would take that as your turn.
Yeah.
I think that one would
Exactly.
get me. Sorry.
No, I feel like that's understandable. So he like the kid like rushes over to Mom and she's like holding him
Yeah.
and then she starts kind of freaking out and like she's like kind of like clawing and clutching at him and then he kind of gets scared and breaks away and she's like screaming and then the military arrives. But there is this kind of like draw of like, is she infected? Isn't she? She's acting a little bit more coherent than a regular infected. What's going on?
I was going to ask you if it got you. Because there for a minute I was like, oh, is she going to eat the kid? Because he's like, Mom, you're hurting me. You're hurting me. And then I was like, oh, are we going there?
Yeah.
That's where I went.
I think I just kind of was like, oh. I was like, okay, I see what we're doing. We're kind of going for like a half infected situation.
All right. But yeah, then at that point we hear like the helicopter outside, and then you see there are 3 army guys outside, and then the son and the daughter go out.
Yeah.
And then my man in the copter says, Doyle, got your puppies.
Got your puppies.
Oh, gnarly, bro. That's how that makes me feel.
Yeah. So we bring everybody back to the compound, including Mom.
And we're straight into the quarantine shower with her just
Yeah.
naked, screaming, writhing.
Yeah.
Still kind of giving you that vibe of like, is she infected?
Isn't
or
she?
like, is she fucking good? What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah. Definitely a lot of question marks there.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, she's kind of strapped down to a bed.
You know what I love though?
Huh.
Zombie apocalypse. We have found this woman. We do not know her deal. I'm just gonna put on like a tiny little mask.
Like a little, like a muzzle, like, that's smart. That's smart.
No. I'm making fun of the doctor who
Oh, yeah.
just has our basic like why
Like
would
a
you not be in
nurse mask.
full blown PPE at this point?
No, that's a really, really good point, actually. I don't know why. I think maybe an aesthetic thing. Maybe they're just stupid
Well,
and
yeah,
lazy.
logistics, but I'm just saying.
But
for
yeah.
the people who watch this and are like medically, that is not realistic. I'm not here for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's just like strapped to the bed, and Scarlett's our doctor.
Yes.
Scarlett's just like asking her some casual questions.
Mm-hmm.
The mom seems pretty nonverbal, which I'm like, are we trying to go like she's been alone for long enough? She now doesn't want to speak, but I'm like,
Yeah, now it's been like half a year.
I guess
And she
if
survived half a
she
year.
immediately got out of the cottage and immediately went home, but I don't think you would go nonverbal after 6 months.
I mean, I don't know. Isolation can really mess a person up.
That's fair.
It is classified as like a torture
Yeah,
thing because
yeah.
it can mess you up that bad.
Yeah. Make
And then
sure you
also
got
if you're
friends.
like kind of sick, you know,
Yeah, true.
like kind of
Whatever. Infected.
Yeah, half infected, which is not really how infections work, but
yeah. She goes to draw her blood, sees that she's got a bite mark, so confirms she has been bitten at some point, but is clearly not fully turned.
yeah.
Ask if she's come into direct contact with the infected, and then we get a cut shot to her like running through the woods. So
Yeah.
it kind of shows like she clearly somehow got out of the house
Yeah.
and tried to run away. And then she draws her blood, and the first word she says is like, "Can I see my kids? Where are my children?"
Yeah.
So
As a good mom does.
yeah.
Yeah. And then what? The
kids are in like a holding area.
Yes.
Because I imagine they have to go through some type of quarantine since they went into the no-go zone and
Yeah.
then went into a house with mom that has been bitten, is infected, isn't infected, we don't really know.
Yeah.
So they're like in a...
We want to see mom.
Yeah, like in a little room behind like a glass window. They've at
Yeah.
least got like a bed and a desk. Like it's not like we put you in a padded room type shit. It's
Yeah.
like a small kitchen is almost what it looks like. And then...
It's nice of them.
shithead shows up. Dawn. And
Shithead shows up.
he's been notified that his kids have been found and his wife has been found.
Yeah. Can you imagine the way that if you are Dawn, the way that your stomach probably drops?
It's straight into your asshole.
Straight
into your asshole. I can't even fucking fathom.
I can't even. I like.
And
what
you've already
do you
lied
do?
to the kids.
Yeah, and you've lied. You saw her get bit, like, you know, and I feel like, why doesn't he just leave? Like, why does he try to go and, like, reconcile this? The gall he has to face her is actually wild.
Which, let's not skip ahead, because I have some fucking comments about that scene.
I do too.
But basically, he goes to see the kids. Immediately, the daughter is like, you said you saw mom die.
Yeah.
So, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And I was like, go on!
Yeah,
Go on!
good
Call
for
your dad
her.
out for what he is.
Yep.
Yeah, it literally matters. He's such a gaslighter that he literally just spins it, just ignores the daughter yelling, really, and explains this is good news that mom's alive.
It's good news.
It's good news.
Even though he's probably thinking the opposite.
Yeah. So then shit really hits the fan because we start to get these like back and forth cuts of Dad using his all access badge to just swipe himself in to see the mom. And again, question for logistics. If you have just found a woman, you don't know what her deal is, you think that she might be immune, why would you not have armed guards inside and outside that door?
Don't know. Why would you let the janitor just go wherever he fucking wants? Also
that.
like, what? You're letting this random fucking dude just have all access to go wherever he wants. It's crazy.
I thought that was wild that no one was at the door.
Yeah, nobody.
That's
not a
just
single
fucking
person.
stupid. So
Where
anyway-
she could, like, not only she could be very, very dangerous.
Exactly.
But also could be, like, a key to a cure.
Exactly. It's going to be one side of the coin, right?
Yeah.
She's either going to turn eventually, and then you have an infected inside, or she needs to be protected at all costs because she could hold the immunity.
We're just, like, not putting any guns there at
They're
all.
like, it's cool. Like,
It's fine.
She's fine. She's lost
She's fine.
up.
We got her strapped to the bed. It's totally good.
So he gets in, apologizes, explains he was so scared. He was so scared he just didn't know what to do. And then we get a cut to our medical officer looking at her blood underneath the microscope, and it like kind of replicates.
Yeah.
And I
like
think
spiky, some kind of science shit.
Yeah, but I think the way it's shot in a little bit of that gritty where you're like, okay, this is it replicating in zombie virus stuff.
Yeah.
So, she's a carrier of the virus. Oh, here's in my notes. Heterochromia.
Yes.
You said that earlier.
Yeah. Heterochromia.
The medical officer comments like maybe that defect provided her immunity, which I think is a big stretch.
I was gonna say, I think that's a stupid fucking mechanic for immunity. I don't understand the point of it. Otherwise, to be like, oh look, they have two different colored eyes. Because I don't get like the scientific like logistics of it. I don't think it makes any sense. I think it's stupid.
I'm also just like, and I think, granted, fan bases are horrendous. So I don't
They are.
I don't know if you could get away without having a clear cut, this is why she's immune.
Yeah.
But at the same time, literally, post-pandemic, we saw with COVID, people had a level of immunity where you could be an asymptomatic carrier.
That could just be a thing.
With no real rhyme or reason is what it seemed like. So it's like, could you have just been like, she's immune?
Yeah, you could have done that. You didn't have to have all the whole.
They did
the
it
whole
with
thing.
Ellie in The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Why is she immune? Nobody knows, but she's immune, so we're going to try to get her to save the world.
Yeah, I don't understand why they had to have the heterochromia. Maybe it's just so they could have like casted the daughter because the daughter had big, pretty blue eyes, and they're like, well, we had Cillian Murphy. We have to have someone with big blue eyes. I don't care how. I don't know why, but we have to make it make sense, and it doesn't make sense.
I don't know, man, but...
Yeah, I just think it's almost like kind of like a lazy like story mechanic, to be honest.
Yes.
Anyway, she's just a carrier.
But
also maybe still half infected because she is like kind of like, you know?
And she's basically trying to advocate going, look, this is the closest we've had.
Yeah.
To potentially having a vaccine for this. Like, we have to study her. Like, I need time with her. And Idris Elba is a good army man. Basically goes, I'm going to go shoot her because she's infected.
Yeah.
So, we get that. He sets off to basically go kill her. And now we're back with Dawn and Alice.
Yeah. So, I just want to wind it back because at the beginning of the movie, there's this instance where, like, the very opening scene, like, Alice is looking, I think, at a picture of her kids.
Yes.
And is, like, visibly upset because she's like, my kids, the world's ending and stuff. And then, again, I mentioned this in the last episode, when, by way of comfort, a man is just like, I'm going to kiss you and it'll be better and we'll make out and then you'll stop being emotional and dramatic. That's what Dawn does when she's, like, crying over her kids being missing. And then he comes in and he's like, I'm so sorry I left you for dead. And then has the audacity.
Alice says, I love you.
Yeah.
Because he goes, I'm sorry, I love you. And she goes, I love you.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, he then takes that as green light. Well, I can make out with you then.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just like a peck on the kiss, like I miss you, I love you. It's like they're making out.
It just makes me want to break this because it's like it is bloodborne and through saliva. What are you doing?
What are you doing then? Also, like, what's the audacity to have, like...
A man.
Yeah.
2 lesbians? Not gonna happen.
No. Definitely not. But yeah, so
2 lesbians wouldn't have left the other one though.
Exactly.
So then it would have been a completely different story if they were fucking lesbians. So.
Yeah, and so I just like this, like just that audacity,
the caucasity. I'm telling you,
of just like he just deserves it because she is a carrier, and he I guess doesn't know this at this point, which is why he kisses her, and then she does know this probably and lets him, and I'm like, yes,
that's true,
that's great, because I think that's my headcanon, is that she did know.
I like that.
And she's like, yeah, motherfucker, kiss me, I'll infect you and then you can die.
Well, so he unfortunately kills her, but
yeah, I know,
but
we'll get to that.
I will say, in the kiss, I like the way they shot it, because they
I
really zoom you in, and they're like, there is spit being swapped right here. They make sure you see that. And then he starts turning instantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right away.
I'm like, you dumb motherfucker.
You dumb bitch.
It makes me so angry. So
same.
He starts to turn in true rage virus form. He just punches her face in, basically, and then rips her throat out.
No, he doesn't rip her throat out. He punches her face in and then jumps on top of her and then sticks his thumbs in her eyes.
You would remember
like,
that.
In the, but it's like, it's just like, it's in like direct contrast to the first movie when Jim is doing this not as rage, sticking his thumbs into the eyes of a would-be rapist. Yeah. And it's like the I don't know, the justification, the sense of justice you get out of watching that scene and that brutality versus the kind of awful horror of, like, I think this is the most graphic scene in 28 Weeks Later that I can think of, where he's sticking her thumbs in her eyes and beating her in the face. And so that's just like a husband beating his wife. There's no, like, justification for that. And I just am like, why?
I don't want to get too far ahead, but the only other scene I can think of is another violence on woman scene in the tunnel, which we'll get to, but I'll bring it back up once we get there. So that is an odd point that you're making. Yeah. So is this a really problematic franchise?
Maybe. Yeah. I think that this is a problematic adaptation. Yeah. Like, I think that, like, the second one is, like, kind of fucked up. And then, like, 28 Days Later had its problems too, but I think it was done in a better way. But, like, just for him to just, like, be beating his wife, you know, with, like, and, like, drawing that scene out is just kind of, like, fucked up.
Yeah. Well, then our man Don just sees himself out and starts killing a bunch of military personnel on the way out.
Yeah,
So,
he goes buck fucking wild.
and again, now we're starting to get kind of jerky camera footage now that we're kind of trying to see where Don is going and what he's doing. That gets a little grainy and not as clear, but again, doesn't really fully deliver on that, but is trying to keep that
just doesn't hit
vibe. So an army man finally shows up to where Alice was kept, sees that she is dead, and he initiates Code Red.
Yeah.
Which is not good for anybody involved, is what we learn pretty quickly.
Pretty soon.
Important people are obviously funneled down into a bunker to be kept safe, and civilians get locked down, and army personnel are attempting to hunt down Don, but
it's not going too well.
Yeah, in the process, we see that the kids are still in the quarantine area. They had a military person at least watching the kids, so he's like, I'm gonna go see what's going on, because at this point the lights are starting to flicker, so we're also like starting to set the vibe, like the lights are flickering, bad stuff's about to happen.
Bad stuff.
And the kids are basically like, what's happening? He's like, I'm gonna be right back, don't worry. And they should worry.
He does come back though.
Yeah. yeah. And then, much like the first movie, this is a part where we get deafening silence. It's dead silence. There's no music. There's nothing happening. There's just like the kids at the glass.
Yeah.
Waiting to see what's going to happen. And, Army Man gets attacked in the hallway, and, another army personnel comes bursting into the room, infected. The kids are basically like, oh, fuck me. And then his head gets blown off. And then we see it is Scarlett, our chief medical officer.
Yes.
Like any responsible woman would, thinking, we have let minors in here. They shouldn't be in here. The son probably has the cure now that the mom's dead. So I now have to make sure that nothing happens to these kids.
Yeah.
So
takes them under her wing and is rushing them along as like we're kind of getting it. People are being funneled into different areas. It's getting kind of claustrophobic.
Very.
People are definitely panicking.
Again, the downside to being in a high rise.
Yeah, exactly.
You have all of these people coming back to this district. You have put them in a high rise.
Yeah, why did we do that?
Now you have to take them down the 20 flights of stairs to get them to anywhere.
Yep.
And of course, the army has chosen to funnel them into
the basement or something?
I thought it was a parking garage.
Yeah.
They basically funneled them into a parking garage and shut the doors and go, this is for your own safety. And I cannot fathom the level of mass hysteria that would happen if that happened. Which you see a little bit of it because they start to basically be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And start pounding on the door, but it doesn't get too wild.
I do kind of want to give this scene some credit because it does definitely feel claustrophobic.
Yes.
You can definitely feel like the
and I will
crowd crush, mass panic kind of anxiety happening there.
I will say, in the stairwell, Andy gets swept away from the sister and the doctor. So now the sister and the doctor are together, and Andy has been swept into this fucking
parking garage
hurting pit that they've got in the parking garage now.
Yeah. I do like this whole scene because I think just the fear that it's playing on of like the fear of being in a big crowd where everybody's scared, and then also like the fear of like, oh, this bureaucracy that has us all, like, under its thumb right now is failing in front of our very eyes, and there's nothing we can do about it. All we can do is just follow orders and go. And I think that is a very real fear, and it is a good one to play on.
Well, and I think, I think leading to this claustrophobia and hysteria is it's like getting smash cut with basically like the army activating. So it's like army personnel running down the stairs and like shutting down the electric in the city, which I don't know why we did that and then went to the spotlights.
Yeah, I don't know either. Let's just put everybody who's already panicking in the dark. It's a great idea, guys.
So yeah, in that claustrophobia, now the lighting of this scene is like people with lighters and people with flashlights, so it's very dark, it's very spotty, and basically Andy and like just another random they kind of make their way out of the crowd, and they're seated in like a different hallway. Not a hallway, but it's like a different opening.
Yeah.
And our little man Andy hears this like thud, thud, thud.
Yeah.
And we look up, and there's another set of doors. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so the army have shoved these people into this place and only locked and secured one set of doors.
One door.
Incredible.
Very, very good thinking.
Yeah. So Andy goes to investigate. Mm-hmm. It's Dad.
It's Dad. He's there. And the doors are unlocked, so
of
he can
course.
just swing them open.
Yeah.
And he's there, and he's just bloody. Probably his wife's blood all over his mouth.
Also,
red-eyed.
He's probably eating all types of people now at this point.
Yeah, that's very true. And
luckily, he doesn't get Andy.
No.
He goes for the other guy that was kind of seated near Andy, and then Andy's like, "Oh, I'm fucking out.
Yeah.
That is my dad, and my dad is now infected."
Yeah,
so,
which is like what he does end up yelling as he's going to the crowd. He's like, my dad is here. This is bad. My dad's here.
My little man Andy, like in this scene, I'm like, my guy. He went to people, tried to tell them.
Yeah.
Because like Andy's 12,
12.
right?
Yeah, he's like 12.
He's still really fucking young.
Yeah, he's a baby.
Yeah, so he's like trying to go to strangers and being like, my dad's in here and he's infected.
Yeah.
Nobody's listening, so he's like, I'm still going to keep swimming through here. And then you start to hear, okay, people have realized infected are in here, and people are starting to be turned. So then it's like, I just thought of like how awful this would be, because you've been funneled into here, and now you're trapped, and now people are turning left and right, and you're trying to get out.
And it's dark.
Yes. And Andy does probably the smartest thing I've ever seen. He looks up, and he basically crawls up on top of the crowd and goes into an air duct.
Yeah, he does do that.
And like, this is the fucking smartest kid.
He
to
is
your point earlier about like you can write a character however you want, this kid, now that he has his photo and has found his mom and made his questionable decisions, now he's locked in.
Yeah, he's locked in. He's like, I'm going to survive. Yeah, I don't care.
So he gets up into the air duct as all hell breaks loose.
Yes.
So,
and break loose it does. People are turning fast, and they're all starting to pour out of this building.
Yeah. And this is a wild ass scene.
It is.
I like this scene.
I like the scene too. I think the idea of the scene is really good. I think that there's still something that was like, I can't really put my finger on it, but something that was still kind of like stilted for me, where it's like it has the music, it has like the shot, and like the stress of, because basically what's happening is that people are funneling out of this building. They are infected. The snipers can see that they're infected, and they're trying to pick them off one by one. Yeah. But it's spreading too fast, and they're like not sure who's infected and who's just panicking.
Well, and you get this dialogue in the radio of like, first it's be mindful of the friendlies, like only shoot the infected, and the snipers are like, I can't fucking tell what's what, and it's not very long before they get the call to. It's out of hand. Code red.
We're killing everyone.
Shoot everybody at will. And Doyle's like, what? Can you repeat?
And he, and then he gets like the order. So I like that concept. I think it is really interesting, but there was still something about the execution of the scene that did feel a little bit stale. It felt like sterile. It felt very much like almost like, and I'm not just saying this because I think he was in a Jason Bourne movie, but very like Jason Bourne-esque, where we're doing that kind of polished.
I haven't seen any of the Jason Bourne movies.
They're good.
Yeah.
But it's like very like polished, kind of like, oh, this is what's at stake. But I had trouble kind of like feeling it, because it did kind of still feel like it was like just trying to copy the peril of something else.
That's interesting. It was it for me.
Yeah.
And I think especially in, unfortunately, the age we live in now of school shootings, mass shootings, insert terror of so many clips we've seen of people sprinting out of a building like that.
Yeah.
Because because again, this is kind of the opening of, you thought the infected were the issue. Well, now actually you've got snipers on the roof that you actually are almost your bigger problem that you are going to have to get away from.
Yeah. You got snipers and infected, and like the snipers have the guns and the authority.
It did it for me.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
And you got the 28 days later score just ramping up now as just fucking bodies are flying.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it, but I think there's just something maybe in the editing that I think if maybe it had that Danny Boyle flair, it really would have sunk home for me.
Yeah.
But so we got Doyle with this peril and this situation where it's like, oh, I am now being permitted to shoot civilians, and he is like, no, I'm not going to do that.
So we get a clip of the medical officer who is clearly somewhere with the daughter, and she gets on the radio and goes, "We've lost Andy. He's a young boy, 12. Like, please be on the lookout for him."
Yeah.
So this comes into play because she basically radios that. At that point, Andy kind of drops out of his air duct on the outside of the building.
Yeah.
He's just standing frozen because he's 12 in mass hysteria. You have one guy over to the side trying to get him to come to him, which I think is to paint the picture of, like, there is a group of people who have gotten inside that are safe because we're going to end up there in a minute.
Yeah.
And Andy's just frozen, and he looks up, and an infected is running at him, and our man Doyle has shot the infected through the back to save our little guy, and then he finally runs over to the guy.
Yeah, finally kind of wakes up.
Yeah.
Starts to go.
So he gets inside, and it's like, overstock, like it's like pallets of like just shit basically. So you're kind of walking your way through this, and other people are like roaming, and I think again they kind of shot it in a way where like for a minute you're like, oh, is that an infected like walking by? But obviously it's not. It's just all the people that have made it out and
are taking cover from the fucking snipers.
Yeah, and he rounds a corner and sees the medical officer and his sister. So then they get reunited. And he goes, "I saw Dad. He's infected."
Yeah. The poor kid.
As any 12-year-old would, the first thing you're going to tell your sister is, "I found Dad, and he's actually a zombie now."
Yeah. Yeah. He fucking sucked anyway. But I do think it's funny because, like, you do get this, like, somehow in all that chaos, all those bullets flying, Don does not get shot. He's still running around. Yeah. He's fine. Fucker. He's infected, but he's fine. Yeah. Which is annoying.
Yeah. And then, so there's a conversation inside this building between one of the civilians, basically, I think kind of is like, what the heck is going on? Why are they shooting? And then the medical officer basically spells out code red and what is happening. And she's like, look, step 1 is kill the infected, step 2 is containment, and step 3 is if containment fails, extermination.
Yeah, eradication, which is a bad sign.
Yeah.
It's not looking good for our little crew here.
So, right before this, Doyle has a moment up on the roof as, like you said, he knows that now we're in a situation where they want them to kill civilians, and you can tell Doyle's not down with that, and he also has another moment where one of the snipers gets on the radio and goes, "Help, help, help," and he pans over, and he's being eaten by 2 infected, and Doyle basically blows the guy's head off just to save him the misery, being infected.
Which probably isn't good, and now is probably a good time to abandon your post.
And he was like, I'm gonna pack up and go.
Yeah, he's like, I'm out of here.
So I backpedaled us because now after Scarlett has that conversation, Doyle walks in.
Yes. Yeah, he's like, I'm here to help. I'm
Mr. Hawkeye, sniper man from the army. Like, he gives that vibe.
Yeah, he really does. He really does, like, kind of.
But, like, in kind of a sweet way. Because I like him.
I like him too.
Yeah.
I like the actor Jeremy Renner. I like the character too. But also, I think it's interesting because this is the only other kind of like masculinity that we have in the film, I
Yeah.
think, because we have Dad, who's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then the only other, like, figure that we get to look up to is, like, this military figure.
Yeah.
So it is, like, even though he is, like, abandoning, he still is, like, kind of glorified in, like, a way that I'm, like, meh. You know? Like, that
Yeah.
doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, like Jim, who was, like, unconventional, like, kind of, like...
I'm just realizing we need one of these that it's just lesbians.
Yeah.
I hope in this next trilogy we at least get one.
We won't. We gotta make it ourselves, Lisa. I'm sorry.
But I think it would be a lot better. Because
I think
it's
it'd be
always better when it's
interesting.
gay, and
Yeah.
I think lesbians could save the world.
Especially
Especially throw in some trans individuals, we would all be fucking fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think like a queer situation like this. This is why I'm so excited for Hellfold with Us, the movie, because like that's all queer kids.
What's the name of it?
Hellfold with Us.
Okay. I
Yeah.
haven't seen that one.
Well, it's not out yet. It's based off of a novel,
Okay.
and the Wachowskis, one of the Wachowski sisters, is adapting it into like an animated film.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's supposed to be really good because basically it's a bunch of queer kids that like save the world.
I will take this time to plug how excited I am for George A. Romero's daughter is giving us a gay zombie film.
Oh, what?
From my understanding, it basically takes place in a gay nightclub.
Excellent.
And zombies break in, and drag queens and gays and lesbians have to hold it down.
I feel like I have heard.
It hasn't dropped yet, but I think it's coming soon.
Excellent. Yeah,
ready.
I'm on board.
I'm fucking ready for it.
I'm fucking ready for it too.
Katie O'Brien's in it. Which I thirst for Katie O'Brien.
Yeah, she was
ever
in that.
since Love Lies Bleeding.
Well, she was also in, I think,
Z Nation.
Z Nation. Along with Grace Phipps.
I have
and
not
I love.
watched Z Nation, but I started trying to find her. I haven't gotten to her season yet.
She's
but
good in Z Nation. I like her a lot.
she's a little beefcake.
Yeah, she is. I love her. Anyway.
For all the Muscle Mommy fans out there.
Yeah.
So Doyle basically comes in. He's now superhero man. He's going, I'm getting out of here. I think you guys don't stand a chance since you're civilians. If you want to come with me, we can all try to go. Mm-hmm. So it's him and about 10 individuals starting out. Might be less than that. Might be more like 6 to 8 because we get withered off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And he's basically leading the charge as Sniper Man. They're all in single file. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get out of these city streets and weave their way through. His buddy from the chopper gets in and is basically like, where the fuck are you? And he's like, I'm trying to get out of here. And he's like, well, you have 4 minutes because they're firebombing the city.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, and...
Which is, again, to the logistics of, like, what that would feel like to be like, you have 4 minutes until you're being eviscerated. Like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're, like, trying to, like, I don't know, how far can you get in 4 minutes? You can't get out of a city in 4 minutes.
I wouldn't fucking think so, man. No. Because, again, very quickly, they're setting off around the corner... And he's like, okay, I think we're good. We need to run. They start to run, and immediately 2 people get sniped. So then it's like, get back, get back, get back. We have a sniper.
Yeah.
Then
he's trying to tell, like, one random guy, he's like, you need to run zigzag. Like, draw his fire, and then this guy is like...
Dickhead number 2, man.
Yeah, he's like too cowardly. So fucking Andy...
Little Andy darts out,
zigzagging.
And Doyle immediately goes, fuck, and basically just gets into position. Yeah. I'm a little uncomfortable with... the amount of shots he let the sniper take.
Oh my god, so many.
I was like, my guy, because he knows where he's at because they basically hide behind a corner. He sticks a mirror out to try to see. Yeah. We see the reflection, so I assumed he did before the mirror got shot out of his hand.
Yeah, exactly. So, there was what, like 4 shots that he took at Andy? And I'm sorry, I don't care how much you're zigzagging. Yeah. You're up against a military sniper. The sniper just fucking sucks. So
thankfully. Well, and I think that was his comment was when he's holding the mirror, it takes like 4 bullets to knock it out of his hands. So he's probably not a sniper. He's probably a guy that they have put on the roof.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But he takes it out in one. Yeah. Takes him for forever to line up a shot, but once he does, it only takes one bullet.
I know, and because he was telling the guy, he's gonna miss, but I won't.
Yeah.
And I do think that's kind of fun. It's like, we like a sure shot. A sure shot character is fun to me.
Go on, Captain America.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, Hawkeye. Which, my one question is, why do we feel like the Doctor needed to be shot? The Doctor gets shot in the leg. And I was like, why was that necessary? Because now she's like limping along and kind of just looks like an idiot.
Yeah.
Because she has to drag her leg. She's been shot in the thigh. I'm like, I don't like that for you.
I don't like
Writing
it for her
again,
either.
I don't like that written into her plotline.
It
I know it's not her fault.
Just to add some more peril in there, I guess.
To slow them down,
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. And it's like, oh, the Doctor's slowing us down, so we do actually have to slow down because the Doctor's useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, they're hobbling along.
I will say, so before they start hobbling along, Andy makes it to the door at the end of the street that he was supposed to run to, and he looks, and we see Dad.
Yeah.
And I thought the Dad might actually be there.
Yeah.
But then Doyle walks up, and then he disappears. So I think it was just a vision of the kid.
I think he was there. He just ran off. He's hunting his children because he's probably was stewing over resentfulness of having kids in the first place. I don't know. I'm extrapolating.
I thought it was PTSD trauma of just like,
maybe
dad's a zombie and now I'm going to have visions of him no matter where I go.
I can see that being a thing too. But we do know that Dawn actually is still out there. So who knows?
Yeah. So yes, we are hobbling along. We get over a fence as the fire brigade fighter jets come screaming overhead. Mm-hmm. So you're like, woo.
We gotta run.
Yeah, we
gotta run. Gotta run fast.
Yeah. So Doyle wants to take them underground, under the river, to stay safe. Which I'm like,
sure.
It bought you more time.
Yeah.
Safe? I
don't think so.
I think that's stretch. We're firebombing the city.
They're carpet bombing the city. Like, there's not really anything safe.
Yeah, so as they get underground, we start to get our CGI shots of just, I think they're really well done because it's an overhead of the city and just flames going down these streets.
Yeah.
And absolutely eviscerating this city.
Yeah, it is also interesting too because I think you play on, like in the first one, we played on kind of like this post 9/11 kind of desolate whatever thing, and then, you know, we're kind of at this point, just like history-wise, at the height of like one of the many Middle Eastern wars that we've been doing. And so like, you know, you get a lot of that like aerial overview of just like bombs and stuff going off. So I think it's definitely kind of playing on that and like the way that the U.S. military just kind of indiscriminately does those kind of things.
Actually, halfway through this movie, I had the thought of, why don't we ban more movies in the manner that we ban books? So I actually had the thought, I was like, I'm surprised Trump hasn't banned these movies because they're very anti-military.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Why?
It's a good question. Why did they get away with it for books but not media?
I don't know. I think it is, there is something to be said because I need to do my research on this, but if the military is referenced in a movie, you pretty much have to get permission from the military to do that. So, like, even if it's just like a passing comment, you need to get approval from the military to do that, which I think is, like, interesting because it's just, like, I don't know, it's, like, approved kind of thing.
It's like an Apple phone can never be used by a villain.
Yeah. Oh, really? Is that real?
Yes.
What? That's so funny.
So that's your
crazy.
That is your fun brand fact of the day.
Fun fact.
So, things are being firebombed, and then we are kind of getting then these cut scenes street level to like zombies being engulfed by flames, and you see Mom's body get engulfed by flames.
Yeah.
And at one point you even see like the photo of Andy and Mom getting engulfed. And I don't know why no one thought that the fireball wasn't going to come down into the tunnel. Like, immediately for me, I was like, you're going to go into that tunnel and then it's going to follow you.
Yeah.
Again, you have gained time, but they like go down into the tunnel and like sit down. I'm like, my guys, no.
You keep running. You keep running.
So we have a moment of like, they like look over and see the light coming and he's like, we gotta go. And then they're hobbling down the tunnel and then come up to street level, and there's like one of like the tiny buildings that they make to when you come out of the train station. It's just like fluff basically, but they make it out of that just in time, but then that dramatically explodes. So again, it at least bought you time. And as all this is happening, we are seeing army personnel watching this on monitors, kind of like the chimp was watching it on monitors, was where I went.
Oh, that's interesting. In the first one, yeah.
Again,
I like that.
Is that how they meant it? I do not know, but that's how I took it.
I like that interpretation of it. That's pretty interesting. It's like they were the rage all along.
And then we also get some CCTV footage of infected still running through the street. So we know.
So we firebombed everything, but it didn't do anything.
Yeah, so great job.
Yeah.
So now we are down to our 4 core.
The main characters.
Yeah, I called them the core 4. People
core
said that
4.
about some of the Scream characters. I stole it from that. The core 4.
Smart.
And then, and I said, plus the fucker that wouldn't run in a zigzag. So we have our 4 main characters and the asshole that wouldn't run in a zigzag and made little Andy do it.
Yes.
So
the child.
Yeah, and then we're kind of getting cut shots of them walking rather calmly through these barren streets, and
they're in like the greater London area now.
Yeah, and infected sprinting.
Yeah.
So it's this, okay, yes, but how close, what is this infected mob? Because they're running and they're going somewhere.
Yeah.
So, we then eventually see the infected sprint down into the subway tunnels, so that answers that question of where they end up, which we'll come back around later to that. Lots of foreshadowing. Like, again, don't fucking scroll your phone. Like, you have to pay attention because this shit comes back around by the end of it.
Yeah,
it does. And again, kind of to your point, this movie's kind of predictable.
Yeah.
In a way.
It is.
But whatever. We still made it through because it's part of the franchise.
Yes.
So they make it to this, like, abandoned carnival is kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
Which is the pickup point. The guy in the chopper
the chopper
said,
guy. But
I'll pick you up here.
Chopper guy doesn't want the civilians to come with. He's
Correct.
just there for Doyle.
So, fun fact about this one. They wanted to shoot this at night.
Okay.
Which I'm like, how long are you trying to make this night in this walking through London? Like, I think it was a bold choice for that, but they said it was basically impossible to light appropriately, and I'm like, well, you're in a massive open area with what looks like no
ambient lighting
to even work with. So they ditched that and just said, fine, we'll make it we'll make it sunrise the next day.
Yeah.
Which to me worked. It probably made more sense.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it takes a while to walk.
It's London.
Anywhere. It's London.
Yeah.
It's not a small town.
So, before we get picked up, we kind of have some dialogue, which again kind of mimics the first movie, where like you really get the first scene between the kids where she's like, I thought I lost you. Like, I was like really upset. And then they're like, we're never going to lose each other again. So you kind of get
like
this
a little bond, a little vow to stick together. And that's cute.
Yeah. And then you kind of get the conversation between the doctor and Doyle, where the doctor's like, so why'd you leave your post? Like, we're both government officials. We know how this happened. Why did you leave your post? And he's like, not really down with like sniping civilians. And she makes it very clear, we have these kids, their blood might have immunity, they are more important than us, we have to get them out of here.
Get them to safety.
I
I like that vow too, like that like protection. of like, yeah, protect these, and also like they're, but like the thing is that we're not just protecting them because they're innocent children. We're protecting them because they're useful.
Because they could save the world. Because
Right.
the children save the world. So Chopper Man arrives and immediately is basically like, I don't have space for fucking civilians. Who are these people?
Yeah.
And Doyle's basically like, look, you have to at least take the kids. And he says, get them over the channel. Which I took that to mean basically out of Britain, probably over into
France.
Paris, France.
Yes.
Which we get there later.
Yep.
And in the discourse between Doyle and Chopperman, Dickhead comes running up and just
Dickhead.
jumps on, apparently it's called the helicopter ski. So the things, the legs
the
that they
little
land
legs?
on.
Okay.
He doesn't jump into the chopper, which is what cracks me up. Which granted, he's not fully landed, but still.
Okay.
He could have jumped and climbed in.
Yeah.
He just jumps and holds onto the ski. And I'm
Okay.
like, this motherfucker.
Interesting choice.
And basically, Chopper Man immediately is like,
No. we're
says
not.
like, very like, yeah, bro. He's like, you want to dance, motherfucker? Like something like that. That wasn't the line, but that's how it came
Something
off.
like that, yeah.
Which, fun fact, a Vietnam War vet flew the chopper for them in this
Oh,
scene.
really? Okay.
I was like, that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Because he did this. It's not CGI. It's apparently a
like-
stunt guy in the copter
That's
spinning.
out. That's crazy.
I was like, because in the director's commentary, they were like, the control of this chopper in this scene is unreal.
That's great. I wonder what like the insurance kind of thing on that is. You know,
I
it's
can't
like
even
how do
fucking
you
imagine?
how do you insure against something like that going wrong? Because then you're out of chopper too,
Yeah,
and like
that-
those aren't cheap.
Yeah.
Much as a helicopter.
Who knows? But, so this scene is pretty fucking gnarly. This is probably your most violent scene.
Yeah.
Because he basically tips the chopper and drives it like this through the infected, which is insane.
Yeah,
And
that
just
is
bodies
insane.
go everywhere, and then obviously you've eliminated Dickhead because he was dangling on the bottom.
Yeah, and now he's not.
Yeah.
Now he's a Connor.
Yeah, no chance of that. So, we just jumped straight into this. At one point, before they get to the chopper, they go to run across the field, and they see infected coming. So
Yeah,
that's how they got
okay,
here.
yeah.
We just
They
got
were
too
there.
Yeah, we got too excited about that.
So he didn't crash the chopper, right? He just like
Correct.
flies off.
Yeah, so basically at this point, because there was more infected involved, so he takes out one swarm, but more are coming, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically just takes them out, flies off, and goes, ditch the civilians, meet me at the stadium.
Yeah.
So we've now changed pickup points yet again, which I would be frustrated with.
Yeah, because I have to fucking walk.
Quickly, as they're poisoning and firebombing and everything else.
Yes.
So, yeah, so they're basically running away from more infected. Doyle snipes a couple to take them out, so they have time to run. I will say, we did get a point with the army personnel watching the TV screens where I think it's when we firebombed, we see the infected, and then at some point someone says something about, like, initiate chemical
Yeah.
bombs or warfare, whatever.
They
So-
drop some nerve gas.
Yeah, so they do lay out, like, okay, we're gonna bomb it, and now let's put the chemicals down as the second wave. So
Yes.
we knew that that was coming. So
Yeah.
now they are,
Chemical warfare is fine against zombies only.
allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, they have to get to the stadium. They're running through. There's nerve gas being dropped, and they find a car.
Yes, because the kids are running ahead. The gas comes through, and the doctor's like, get back, get back, get back, get back. It's gas.
Yeah.
So, yes, they, of course, as soon as they see the gas, there is a car right next to them. Which
Conveniently, yeah.
So they get in the car. Everybody's trying to cover their face and close all the vents. And,
Don't know if that would work, but
It looks like a little bit is seeping in.
yeah.
Which I'm like, how much does it take to knock you out? And
Yeah.
then
And is it, like, I don't think it's just, like, knockout gas. I think this is, like...
Oh, yeah, like
this
you're
is,
dead,
like,
whatever
you're
it is.
dead.
Like a nerve agent of some type.
Exactly.
And this is my major plot hole that I have a fucking problem with.
Okay. Do share.
Because they get in the car, they're trying to escape the gas, and then infected show up, obviously.
Naturally.
We have seen infected bust through glass for 2 movies now. And in this abandoned car that could well have been sitting here for up to 6 months, they're not going to break this glass out.
No.
We literally saw them break the glass out of a car in the first one at the very end.
It's bulletproof. I know. Well,
to your writing, you have to write in a manner that you don't write yourself into something that becomes completely fucking unrealistic.
And if you are at that point, rewrite it. You know,
Yeah.
like you can figure it out. You can make something work.
Have them break the glass, and Doyle has to snipe them or something.
Yeah, something like
I don't know.
you stay true to the mechanics of your own universe. Like, stick to your bit.
Yeah. If you can't handle firebombing, chemical gas, and zombies simultaneously, don't write it into your movie. If you can't make it work.
Yeah, if you can't, no, I think
Fucking
that's
doing
really
too much.
If you're overloading yourself and like having to cut corners against the rules of your own universe, then maybe you're doing too much.
Well, but really though, it goes back to the plot device where the third act of the first movie and the third act of this movie, the military is the problem.
Yeah.
Chill it with the infected. We're running from bombs. We're running from chemical gas.
Yeah.
Shift your plot appropriately. The infected are real.
They could be dead.
Yeah.
They could be dying.
We're not concerned there. We're literally trying to get out of the city and get away from the fucking military and be picked up. So I think that's where they kind of just don't have infected in this scene, and I'm not going to be upset with you.
Yep.
So they're trying to start the car. It obviously is not starting. So now we have a decision to make because there
Mm-hmm.
are 3 men masked up with flamethrowers.
Yeah.
Walking through the chemical gas, I guess to tie up any loose ends they might find.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Did you feel like it had to go the way that it did?
No, I didn't.
So Doyle gets out because they're closing in, right? So you're in this space of like, if the men in the masks see them in the car, they're going to torch the car, so they're going to die anyway. So Doyle goes, I'm leaving my gun, put it in neutral, I'm going to push to get you started.
Yeah. He's going to start the car. He's sacrificing himself.
And then the kids are watching out the back window.
Yeah.
And basically just there's this tense, he's pushing and he's out in the chemicals and she's trying to pop the clutch or whatever it takes, and then it finally starts, and then whoosh, he gets engulfed by flames.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it was...
Can I give you information that's going to make you hate this even more?
Oh, yeah, please do.
So in the director's commentary, originally they had thought about making it the doctor that got out and pushed.
Okay.
But they didn't think it would be really as dramatic to then have a strong army sniper leading these kids, because if you think about how the doctor dies, that's not going to happen to Doyle. Doyle's not going to let that happen.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I was like, ugh, hate that.
I also hate that because, like, also,
Well,
and it wouldn't have made sense for her to get out anyway. When it's like, yeah, send the army man to go push the car.
Also, why did you have that written in the first part? Because again, to my question earlier, why did you shoot her?
Yeah.
She has been shot in the leg. She wouldn't have gotten out of the car to push anyway.
Yeah. We're just all over we're just meandering. We're zigzagging.
Maybe I will write 28 months later.
There you
I'll
go.
give us the stopgap, and it'll be about lesbians. We'll be having a great time.
Yeah. No, I approve of that. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was like trying to give him like a literal like blaze of glory, like the ultimate heroicism, and it's like
Bro.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, whatever. And also, why are they out there with flamethrowers in the first place? They're firebombing things. There's nerve gas. Don't send your men out into that. There's just a lot going on. It's just too much. You're doing too much.
My other thought was, I was like, well, what are the logistics of the tanks for the flamethrower. Could he have just stood, sniped, hit one of the tanks, blew them up, got back in the car, and drove off?
Maybe.
Or, well, you would have had to still push, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they really wanted him to go out in a literal blaze of glory, because he was such, like, kind of like a
hero.
Glorified hero complex character.
Yeah, so...
Which I guess is, like, better that he died rather than, like, give him, like, a hero ending. Like, yeah, of course the hero saved the day and he gets to live. Like, yeah, at least have him sacrifice himself if he's gonna be, like, a real hero.
Sure.
Don't know. That's just my opinion.
Your 2 cents?
My 2 cents. Anyway, they start driving. They've got a bunch of there's still gas, so they're like trying to weave away from the gas.
It's a pretty wild shot, the way they shot it, of like she's driving and gas is coming down streets and she's not going there, and then gas is coming, so then she turns left, and it's very much she's trying to weave through these streets. To get away from the gas, and then a chopper spots a car driving. So obviously, what is a military chopper going to do when a civilian car is driving through this? He's going to try to gun you down.
Yeah,
so
naturally.
She really does the only thing she can do is she goes down
underground,
the steps down into the subway. So they then get out. She's got Doyle's sniper rifle that has the night vision on it.
Yes.
Pitch black. So we're now seeing this.
We're in a tunnel again. We're in a tunnel. What did we talk about tunnels last time? Don't go into tunnels. But I guess you don't have a choice if there's
to be fair, with this one, I don't think she had a choice.
I know, but still, tunnels.
Just know, if you get in a position where you have to go down into a tunnel, you're going to be fucked.
Yeah, you're going to be royally fucked.
So we're now viewing this through the sniper rifle night vision, which is pretty trippy. Because it gives like a green tint to it.
Yeah.
And she's basically doing her best to attempt to look down the barrel of the rifle and guide the kids through the dark. Go to the left, go to the right. Stop! Like, like you could have been, one, maybe a little bit more calm in this situation because you literally have 2 children with you.
Yeah.
2, all I thought about was the amount of team building exercises, because it's always the same bullshit. We're going to blindfold you, and then someone's going to have to verbally tell you what to do. And I was like, she would have been fucking awful at those games. Because basically,
games?
Huh?
Have you had to do those games? I've never had to do anything like that.
And I knew I was going to tell this story, and I knew you were going to say that, but like in the sporting world, girl, if you are part of a team, you have done that team building exercise.
That's fair. See, this is why I feel like my survival chances would be interestingly low, because I've never played a team sport in my life. I do know how to get along with people, but I don't know how to be a part of a team.
Well, I think you'd be fine. I think you'd surprise yourself.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I
Thanks for that.
You. I would drag you along. I'd be like, you can't go out, because then who the fuck am I going to hang out with?
To deal with everyone else.
Yeah, then I'm in it alone. Fuck you. So basically, she's so bad at this, I make that point, because eventually the kids freak out and trip over like skeletons and then tumble down the escalator.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, she, at that point, they go tumbling down, and again, Andy has disappeared. We've lost Andy, because the doctor finds the daughter. The daughter is like, I lost Andy, I don't know where he went. So, so they are basically looking for Andy, and then she...
In the dark.
Yeah, in the dark. She turns around and is looking directly at an infected through the gun, who takes her gun and proceeds to beat her fucking head in with it, which we see that through
the thing. Yeah, that was actually crazy.
Yeah, like they flipped it on us, and it was just this bashing motion that you're witnessing through the sniper rifle, which was so hot.
Yeah, and that is a lot. And then again, it's like this beating of like a female character that I'm like, why?
Yes,
like, why? Yes. Because you have, it's like the focus of the violence being on, when we're on an individual body instead of like on like a horde, right? Because we have that helicopter scene where it's like mowing down all this horde, right? Yeah. It's not an individual body, but when the violence is focused on an individual body, it's always like a female body.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't really get
any violence on men.
Any violence on men, really. That is like that focused and that intense, which, you know, is a choice that was made and didn't really have to be made in that way.
Yes. Yeah,
and this is why I'm kind of glad that this season we are talking about films that were made by men, because then we can point some of that stuff out and kind of ask, like, well, why did they do that?
Yeah.
Why did they do it that way?
Yeah. Well, I think it's
could they have done it differently, and would it have still worked? And I think that yeah, they probably could have.
And that's why I let us talk ourselves into this, because I'm like, it's just going to be a lot. Instead of the discourse of, she did a great job, this movie's so good, this makes sense, it's going to be a lot of, well, if a woman made this, or if these were lesbian characters, it would have been a lot better.
It would have been a lot different, And
then, I guess it was a little bit of like, the doctor technically hadn't found the daughter. I guess they were just kind of yelling to each other. Again, to the point of infected responding. I made this point in the last episode of the infected allegedly in the first movie respond to human voice is their trigger, is what the director said. So I guess they're just yelling at one another, because obviously she gets killed. The infected doesn't go after the daughter. The daughter just casually finds the gun, picks it up, sees that she's dead. Again, we see that through the sniper scope. And then she goes off to try to find Andy.
Yes.
And Andy is roaming around by himself. Where we have now finally got into a lit area. Magically, we were in the dark, and now we're like in between two trains. And now we can see. We're not through the sniper rifle anymore. He's roaming around by himself, and an infected comes out, and of course, it's Dad. Dad's
back.
And
Daddy's home.
We get this kind of, it's like a wild sequence, really, where we see Andy, see Dad. Dad runs at Andy, and then we see it really from the daughter's vantage point, where really all we see is an infected over a body, and we kind of see his legs kicking, but you're thinking, oh, okay, well, he's like, is he going to get ripped apart? Where do we go now?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, again, to kind of the human aspect of the infected in this franchise, where the daughter has the gun, Dad's back is to her, she goes, Dad, and then she goes, Dawn! And that snaps him out of it, because again, even as a zombie, you can have PTSD, and that then takes us to the cut of the wife yelling, Dawn. Oh. He has snapped out of it, and then the daughter shoots him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So,
rest in peace, you fucking shithead.
Yeah, and shout out to the daughter for shooting him several times, just making sure he is dead.
Gotta double tap.
Yeah. And then, we kind of get a throwback to the moment of like what the two kids said in the field, because Tammy is like, we're gonna stay together no matter what, and Andy kind of freaks out and runs off because he's
a scared little kid.
Well, I took it as he's old enough to know I've been bit and I know what happens next. Because he doesn't know he's immune. No one has said,
that's
my guy, you're immune to this.
Yeah, and we didn't even know for sure either. We just were running on the assumption that his mom was, so he must be.
So, in this scene, we get for sure, because we see the daughter's looking at him, and we see that same change in the brown eye.
Yes.
Which again, I think still, if I saw that face to face, I'd be like,
maybe.
But also, I think if I'm a teenager, I'm probably not going to put a bullet in my brother's head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're still like, even though with all the carnage and stuff that we've seen, it's still like your brother.
Exactly.
You know?
You're too young to make that decision.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he's asymptomatic. He's just a carrier. Yeah. He's fine. He's chilling.
And then we kind of get this cute. I thought it was a cute scene because he's running away, she's running after him, and he really just trips and falls. But I thought they kind of sold it in like, okay, is he going down and is gonna start to be infected? And she just goes up, and he's like, am I one of them? And she's like, no, no, you're not. Like, we're good.
I did like their sibling dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, I know I said a lot of, like, hating child characters at the beginning of the movie because they did make some stupid decisions. But I do like a good, like, sibling dynamic. I think it's a good, like, play on, like, the whole, like, because I think that in like a through line again through the movie is like a family importance thing, which I do like, because that is, like, very human.
Yeah.
And we're doing the juxtaposition of, like, humanity, what makes us human, versus, like, what happens when we just turn into rage monsters and stuff, right? So I think, like, I like that it explores, like, different aspects of that family dynamic.
Well, and that's, like, a through line for the zombie subgenre, right?
That's true.
It's like, we were having this discussion of, like, zombie movies are never really about zombies.
Exactly.
It's always about government, military, society, humans.
Mm-hmm.
What
Exactly.
do we do? How would we do this? What would be our will to live?
Mm-hmm.
And almost always it's, you're either fighting for your family or you're making a new family that you would fight for.
Yeah, that's very, very well said, I think.
Oh, thanks. So the kids make their way to the stadium, which is Wembley Stadium, which is one of the most well-known stadiums in the UK. That is, like, home base, big boy, Wembley is it.
Yeah.
Which I kind of laughed at, and then it made more sense in the director's commentary, because they get inside, and I'm like, is that grass CGI? And so basically they got clearance to shoot the exterior of Wembley. And then the interior is some random stadium I had never heard of in Cardiff, which is also, like, a city that is probably just going to be, like, a smaller stadium. And the grass is, in fact, CGI, and then they added CGI to the stadium seats.
Yeah.
So the chopper is parked in the middle of the stadium. The kids are walking out. The daughter hides the kid behind her because Chopper Man basically gets out with his gun drawn and is like, where the fuck is Doyle?
Yeah.
And she's like, it's just us. And then he has a heart and is like, let's go. So puts him in the chopper and they take off over the channel and
presumably into France.
yeah, and then
And it's fine, right? Everything's fine, right?
Well, we think everything is fine. So as they're flying, it again, I'm just obsessed with these scenes where they made it silent. Because like dead silence, like
It's uncomfortable.
yeah,
There's like nothing more dreadful than complete silence. As someone who has to have something going on in the background all the time.
yeah,
Dead silence is scary.
yeah. It's like a worst case scenario. So
Yeah.
it's like dead silence as they're flying, and then it cuts to black, and then we get 28 days later. So you're thinking, well,
Wrapping it back around.
fuck me. The helicopter is abandoned because again, I made this point earlier. We know that because we see the cut of the photo of his family and the drawing. So we know it is the helicopter that they were in has seemingly crashed. And on the, I have notes that on the radio, someone is asking for help in French and then in Spanish.
Oh, really? In Spanish?
Now I'm questioning my note-taking.
Maybe I don't have anything that it was in Spanish. I do know that actually at the end of the first movie, when the plane is talking, that's in Finnish, which I think is really interesting because also at the beginning of the first movie, one of the men who lets out the chimp has a Finnish accent. So. But yeah, definitely French.
Definitely French.
Spanish
could be incorrect.
Yeah.
So they get a radio broadcast coming across, well, not a broadcast, basically someone asking for help in French, and then we get just a scene of 4 or 5 infected, I think, sprinting through a tunnel, out into the streets, and it's clearly Paris because they're running to the Eiffel Tower.
Yep.
I don't remember when or where I watched this movie, but I remember the first time I watched this and they sprinted out towards the Eiffel Tower. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go! Because I was like, immediately, give me 28 months later, I have to have it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, and then that's the end. In your fun fact, the tunnel from England to France is 31 and a half miles long.
That's it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just across the pond.
I know, but that's, like, crazy. I think about that all the time, actually, about how, like...
Cool Europe is.
Condensed that Europe is versus, like, the United States. You can't go 30 miles and I'm outside of town.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, just the logistics of infected running 31 miles. Because in the first scene, they wouldn't chase a car that drove
true.
off. So why are they running through a 31-mile tunnel?
If they get hungry enough, maybe. But then, well, it's like, okay, do you think that they ran all the way over, or do you think that Andy had something to do with it? The carrier that was flighted across the channel and into Paris.
Again, the writing of this movie. I just have too many questions.
Yeah,
I think you could have held my hand a little bit better.
Yeah,
because we're doing too much. It doesn't
yeah,
all
there
line
is.
up.
It does. There's a lot of plot holes, and there's just too much going on, and too many like unfinished business, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, meh. You know, it's definitely like a sequel. You know, it's like a lesser sequel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I think, kind of to what you were saying, like, I think it got as much hate as it did because it went away from what the first one was.
Yeah.
Gritty, it felt handheld, felt like you were in it, where, like you said, they got bigger name actors and actresses.
A bigger cast, too.
Yeah.
Because I think last episode I was talking about, like, how I liked how small the cast was.
Yeah.
There's so many different people and so many different things to keep track of in this one that it's like, did we need all of that?
Yeah.
But, again, it's like if they just redid it, it's like the problem I have with, like, Furiosa, which is the movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
I haven't seen it either because I like Mad Max Fury Road too much that I'm like, I watched the trailer for Furiosa and I'm like, they're just trying to do Mad Max again, which is like, well, which is funny that I say that because it is like a continuation, it's a remake of something that has already been done, but it's like the uniqueness of Fury Road was so just kind of like first time in like 2015 it was just like it was like amazing and then you're just trying to replicate that I don't know 8 years later where it's like why we already have that we don't need it again just in a different font you know and I think that's kind of like what this was too it wasn't like it was like trying to add new stuff but and like trying to stick to like the same grittiness but like did it in a way that just, I don't know, just felt like kind of off-brand to me.
Yeah, off-brand. I will still be okay with the franchise because, again, I think when you look at this post-apocalyptic world scenario that we've seen in so many different iterations, it's like the most interesting thing is the phases to me, right? And I think, like, this is kind of where The Walking Dead fucked up because there were so many fucking seasons of that show. And they kept it the same of just, like, survival and fighting infected and raiders, where it's like, well, no, you would be infected. Is anyone immune? When does the government come back around and get involved? Like, when do we try to rebuild? And I think it's also, I mean, it's interesting because it's really a blessing that this is a British film because they got to play that quarantine card where like I think if it was set in New York like the quarantine card would be fucking stupid because you can't quarantine America, it's just too big.
No, I agree with that.
Where it's like we're on an island, we can get away with playing this, it's contained until it runs through the tunnel and fucks it all up.
I think what I would almost, and I don't know if I would regret saying this or not, but I think one of my favorite things about, like, apocalyptic stories is, like, less post and more during. So, like, instead of, like, what happens after everything fails is more, like, everything failing. Because I think that is more scary. Because that is something that... Because just like that, the unknown and the experience of all these systems failing. And like, and that takes time, right? I think it would have been interesting to like have like a view into like we did get that short snapshot of like, okay, monkeys are out, everything is going crazy now, but like just the fear of like watching that on the news, how would they spin that until there was nothing left to spin, I think would be really interesting, because I think the process of everything failing is just as much, if not more interesting to me as everything having failed, and what do we do after that.
Well, and I mean, I think that's a good point of like, maybe that's where this subgenre goes next, is really, and again, leave us a comment, call us out as idiots if we have missed something, but to me, we do not have a set of movies that takes the same set of characters and takes us from day one, news being reported, what do we do? I'm seeing an infected, we have to get out, fighting for our lives, built like...
Yeah,
we
the
have
whole
not
through line.
We have all these movies that, like, there are movies that give us day one and the breakdown, and then what do we do? But then that's a standalone movie by itself, and it doesn't go anywhere. So it's like, you could probably make fucking 6 movies.
Yeah.
If you really hit those time points, but you'd have to keep everybody.
Yeah.
You'd have to have the same cast.
Yeah, I think one thing maybe has tried to do that, and I only know because I've only seen like season 1, but Fear the Walking Dead, which was the first spin-off of The Walking Dead, did do that. Movies only. Yeah, movies only.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fair. But yeah, and that's like kind of the similar problem I had with like The Stand, is that it's like, again, it's like a pandemic, everybody's dying kind of thing, and I don't think it plays enough with like the process of everything falling apart.
Yeah.
Everything falls apart, and then the next 800 pages of the book is what happens after. And I'm like, well, I think the scarier thing for me is the fear that comes with watching everything crumble.
And again, to the conversation we had all of last season about the role of technology. And I think now, in this, dare I call it, like a TikTok reporting age, where, like, I read a statistic that younger generations use TikTok like we use Google. So if they want to know something, they go into the search bar on TikTok and search it.
Which is fucking wild to me.
So I think you could very much make a movie now where you would probably have a younger generation consuming it on TikTok and going, Mom, Dad, like, what is this? Even before it hit the news.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot that could be done there.
I need to get back to writing.
Yeah.
Is what I need to do.
I
need to get back to writing my,
Me
my
too.
scripts.
I haven't been writing like at all lately, which makes me sad.
I sent this to you in a message because apparently there is some rich person that has made an app where it's kind of supposed to be like Airbnb, but it sounded like that it was for like prestigious like dinner parties, so it's like invite only and whatever. I was like, this is straight out of a motherfucking horror movie.
No, it actually is. Like, I can think of a couple like off the dome that sounds like familiar.
Come the fuck on.
Yeah. Would you rather?
Yeah. I'm like, that's a breeding ground for a serial killer.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
So, good luck getting an invite to that app.
Yeah. Not anymore. We already called it. We're not getting invited. No fancy dinner murder parties for us.
We'll pass on your dinner murder party. We're fine in the basement talking about horror movies.
Yes. Thank you very much. But yeah, that is 28 weeks later.
Yeah.
Overall verdict, I think, has been made. But we do have a 28 years later episode in the works. Date to be determined. Yeah. We're waiting for it to come out on digital so we can watch it again and take notes and not be those people on our phones in the theater.
Yeah.
So
I did think, I was like, I wonder if we could do like an 11 a.m. screening, because one would think you're probably going to be the only one in there.
I don't think that they open at 11 anymore, because I've looked at that like on my days off and stuff, and I'm like, I'd love to go to a morning movie. Yeah. I don't think they do it. So I don't think it's a thing anymore.
Keep your fingers crossed that this is dropped on digital so we can get 28 years later in the book. Because I'll buy it. I liked it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I loved it. I loved 28 years later. I thought it was great. I will definitely be buying it as well. And I have a lot of thoughts on that one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's not 28 years later, just stay tuned. We'll post on our socials what franchise we're doing next. It matches the vibe of the world right now, if you want to guess.
It does match. We're going for a...
This season's a vibe.
It is. It is
you have
vibey.
to be invested. We're doing in chunks, so like you get to binge watch these franchises, which I'm obsessed with.
Me too.
I don't know. I'm a diehard. I like to really consume the blocks, so it's good for me.
I do too. I
Gets
like
me down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Give me something to sink my teeth into, right? Yeah. It's fun. It's a different kind of pacing and stuff than last time. But don't you worry, we will get back to our roots at some point once we have some big names under our belt.
Yeah, we just need to get more eyeballs here and more subscribers. So, shameless plug, share us, tell your spooky friends, tell your non-spooky friends. They can listen. It's not scary. We just talk about the film and film in general.
Yeah, and it is like there's a book out there called Horror for Weenies.
Yeah.
If you are interested in like one of the movies that we cover, we do a pretty good job of covering the whole thing, so you can listen to it and then you can talk to your horror friends about it and be like, I do know what you're talking about now, even though you didn't have to traumatize yourself by watching it.
Exactly. We can be your workaround. We're here for you.
Yep.
All right. Well, what are we excited about right now? Foaming at the mouth for?
Foaming at the mouth for. I have been, so I work at a bookstore and I'm the book buyer there. So sometimes I get to use that leverage to get advanced reader copies. And there is a book by Andrew Joseph White that is coming out in September called You Weren't Meant to Be Human. It is a post-Roe v. Wade trans pregnancy body horror with aliens and worms. It's his debut adult horror novel, and if you've read his, like, YA horror, it's already pretty brutal. There's, like, his second book, someone gave someone else, like, a cut-open abortion in a bathtub. YA, 14 plus, right?
Casual.
So this is him off the reins, and I had reached out to the publisher probably 2 months ago, being like, please, I am important, and also I'm a really big fan. Please give me an arc. And then I got to watch all of the Instagram stories that he was reposting of all these other people getting their arcs, and not me. But just the other week, I did get an email.
So it's coming.
Asking for a shipping thing, and I have been in a mad fucking reading slump the last 2 or 3 months. Yeah. I just have not been reading. I've been playing video games. You watched the last episode. You can listen to me ramble about Dead by Daylight, but I'm hoping that I get the arc this week, time of recording.
Do you know how long the book's going to be? Do you have a page count?
300-something pages.
Oh, you will devour that.
Yeah.
It probably won't even take you 48 hours.
Yeah, it'll be quick. But I'm hoping that'll kind of jumpstart me back into wanting to read again.
I hope it arrives on a Saturday, so you have 2 days off right after.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I want that too. Yeah. That'd be so nice. Yeah. I'm also reading, since we're kind of on our like apocalypse binge here. I'm also kind of picked up today a book called Everything Must Go. And it's a series of essays on the stories that we tell about the end of the world. I just read the introduction, and it's pretty good. Bo Burnham was referenced, so I'm like, this is already a green flag. I'm already locked in. So, I think maybe I'm probably just excited to hopefully get my reading brain back on, because I've felt pretty lost and stupid lately without it.
Look, I have also recently done a transition to more video games than books, and I'm... whatever escape you want. It's gonna it's an ebb and a flow. You'll go back to it.
We're just cells. Yeah. It doesn't matter. We're just cells that are suddenly aware that we're cells, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
and now we're just trying to live.
Yeah.
On the topic of pregnancy horror, did you ever read Delicate Condition?
No, but I think it's on my list.
It was supposed to be kind of like a Rosemary's Baby's reimagining, which I have not read Rosemary's Baby. But it goes like the IVF route.
Ooh,
I thought it was very good.
Really?
Ryan Murphy did a season of American Horror Story called Delicate Condition, where he
really?
In the American Horror Story is fucking awful. He does a horrendous job. He fucking butchers it. So if you've seen that and been like, I would never read the book is miles above and beyond.
Cool. I'll have to.
So
I am on a book buying ban until September, so I can't
Self-control.
buy anything because I am spending too much money and not reading enough. But maybe they'll give me an excuse to utilize the library.
Oh, yeah. And also a plug, it's also very nice to be the best friend of the bookseller because I also get access to ARCs sometimes, which are really nice.
Yes. I know. I love ARCs. It just feels so exclusive and fancy.
Yeah.
It's like,
You've
isn't even out yet.
You've only lent me 3?
Well, and like some of them have been like big names,
Yeah.
which is like, that's how we know that we're coming up as like a bookstore, is that before we would just get that box of like random authors, just like
with
random
a hope and a prayer.
Yeah, with a hope and a prayer. And then now we're getting like personalized like boxes of like big name stuff. Like we got an arc of V. Schwab's Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil like months before it came out, and I was like, yeah, we're important now. So
Hair flip.
Anyway.
I am pretty excited about the buzz around Bring Her Back.
Yes.
So it's the second movie made by the brothers that made Talk to Me.
Which was so good.
As far as I know, those two don't link up
No.
because they're doing a second one to Talk to Me.
Yeah.
Which I have heard, I believe they said they have 2 different scripts for it.
Oh, interesting.
Which, I forget the differentiation in it, so I almost don't even want to say it because I'll probably be wrong. But it was just really interesting to me where they've owned the fact where they're like, well, we have 2 different scripts, so we're not fully sure which route we want to go for the sequel.
Interesting.
But yeah, Bring Her Back is getting a lot of buzz about being like super fucked up. So
Yeah.
I need to get on seeing that.
I also need to, because I think it's been a minute since I've seen something that it like has kind of fucked me up. Like Hereditary, I think, was the last movie to make me actually deeply unsettled.
The mouse scene in Terrifier 3?
Oh yeah, that was too, but that didn't like, okay, so like, I don't know, I think like gore is different than like something that actually like scares me, right? I can be disturbed by gore to be like, ew, that was awful. But like Hereditary like was in my brain for days after and scared me. Like I was afraid.
Jesus. I don't remember the last movie that did that to me.
I see, and it's so rare that it's just like it's fun when something can actually do that. I do think as I'm getting older, I am more sensitive though, so we'll see. Maybe it's more of a thing.
Weird. I feel like I'm trending in reverse.
Yeah.
I feel like
That
I'm just
happens.
numb to it all. I'm like, so who knows?
fair.
To each
That's
their
fair.
own.
I
But
know.
yeah, the last one that fucked me up. The first thing is the mice down the rats down the tube in Terrifier 3. That
Yeah.
was the first time in a long time where I was like, I kind of did one of these.
Yeah,
so.
that was pretty rough. That was a rough one.
So, but we'll see if this alleged scene in Bring Her Back is it involves some type of fruit because people on the internet are like, I can never eat that again.
Oh,
Which
interesting.
I'm like, how is this going to work? So,
Where is that going? That's so
Yeah.
strange.
I will also say I'm kind of excited for weapons.
Is that the one with little kids running
Yeah,
around?
where like the little kids sprint out into the road at 2:15 or something.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by this, but I'm also intrigued that they have tried to create a website to go along with it.
Yes. I'm also intrigued. I am also
'Cause it-
suspicious because it looks scary, but I feel like it might be one of those things where it's hyping itself up so much that it just kind of flops.
I don't
So we'll
know,
see.
man. It's from the same creator as Barbarian, and I thought Barbarian was fucked.
Barbarian was fucked. I did
So
enjoy
in
Barbarian.
the website is trying to tell you this is the same universe.
Yeah. I have an interesting story about the time I went to see Barbarian, but we can get to that another time.
I'll tell my story right now about the fact that I streamed it and I told Selena that she should be fine. And my wife hates horror movies, so if she watches one with me, I have to kind of have the taste barometer of like, you'll be
Yeah.
fine or you won't. And we
You
got
were-
about
you were
halfway through, and I
wrong.
was like, I have made a grave fucking mistake.
Terrible decision.
To the point where I was like, do you want to turn it off? And she was like, no, I'm fine. And I was like, so you're hiding under the covers.
Oh, no.
So that's my Barbarian story. That was the worst decision I've made for horror movie choices as a couple for us. But she forgave me.
That's good.
So,
That's a rough one.
Yeah, we're still at it, so.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I watched Barbarian in an empty theater high with the ashes of my cat next to me.
Well, shit.
So that was a whole experience.
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
Yeah, it was fun. But it was also like, wow, am I on Earth right now? I'm not sure.
I could see how that would be confusing.
Yes, yeah, for sure. But yeah, we're in a good year for horror movies.
Yes.
I think we'll be thankful for that.
Yeah, I made that, that was my topic last episode of just, I think we're in a horror renaissance right now. We're just gaining steam and it just doesn't seem to be letting up, which brings me great joy.
Me too. It's good. It's a good era.
All right, well, we'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Girls, watch out for those weirdos.
We are the weirdos, mister.